Hey, and welcome to the Enchanted Fibres podcast. In today's episode, I'll be going over some finished objects, some whips, not too many, and a lot of acquisition. So if you're new here, welcome, and if not, welcome back. I'm going to start with my finished objects. Let's get into it. So my first finished object is the Eun Sweater by November Knits, also known as Fiskum Sunde. I knit the size 1, and it's essentially a raglan sweater. There's a 2x2 rib neckline. There's like a really neat raglan detail, which is so cute. Big straight sleeves, essentially, with 2x2 cuffs, and then there's a split hem and a loose end. A split hem that, I like to have right around the, right below my bust sort of thing. I think that's the flattering place to have the hem split, so that's where I've done it. And yeah, the 2x2, it's a 2x2 front and back for the bottom, and the top is stockinette, so super straightforward. I think a lot of people know this one as well. I use the Patons wool worsted, and the colorway was dark gray mix. I didn't actually put the time frame of me knitting this, but I think I finished it not long ago. It might have been April or May. It's definitely on my Ravelry. I log everything there. So by the time I finished it, it just wasn't quite cold enough. I think I've worn it once or twice on like summer evening temperatures, but it's definitely not gonna be like fully utilized this summer, not until the fall. So I haven't done a wear test. All in all, I have not done a wear test, and so I can't speak to the longevity of this yarn, but it's essentially is 100% wool. You can buy it at Michael's. I got it secondhand technically, which is why I had it, but I must admit the experience knitting with this yarn has been really, really great. I guess it just feels like a traditional wool, so it's a little bit rustic, but the drape, as you can see, is nice. And I don't know if that's because of the needle size that was used, which was 5mm. So also it's a sweater, so it still took a lot of time, but at the same time it was a quick knit because it's on a 5mm needle. I ended up using for this 878 yards or 879 yards. Let's just round. But yeah, I must admit, knitting with this was great. I love the drape. I love the finished fabric. I find it quite comfortable, and I 100% with the price too. I 100% want to knit with it again. I think once I start to go through the yarn I have, it might be one of those more economical options. I'll just see. So my next finished object is a project that I guess was in hibernation, in and out of hibernation since February 2023. So over a year and 4 months ago, I started it, and I saw it on Instagram, I want to say, or maybe it was even a High Fiber Knits, because that was who I first started watching in terms of podcasting. Either way, I saw it and I was like, I really want to make this. I love a puffy sleeve. I love how enchanted it looks. And it was also my plans in my head were this is going to be the first time I ever buy expensive, actual nice yarn for a project. I knit the size extra small. I will say it fits quite nicely. I did do a couple modifications, not much. And I guess just to talk about the construction. So you start, it's bottom up for the top, and it's 2x2 ribs, so that's intuitive. There was no cast-on method specified, so I did the alternative, actually let me just double check that. Yeah, alternative cable cast-on, so I could get theoretically a clean edge. I don't know if you can see that or not. The one modification I did, so I forget what the original measurement was, but I stopped knitting, for the neckline at 26 centimeters from the base. And it might have been 32 centimeters or something like that. I can't remember in the pattern. So I stopped knitting early, but the reason I caught that was because she actually made a note, now's a great time to check if your neckline is sitting where you want it to sit. It was some sort of wording like that, kind of cute. So I did, and it was perfect. I think I was pretty close to having it at the length I wanted, because it kind of, I think, falls kind of right around here. I like to have like an open neck. Other than that, everything was really straightforward. I definitely, like, the odd time I lost track of my short rows. I wasn't always really good at using, I think because I was going into the project a bunch and doing other projects, I just like was struggling to keep track sometimes. But the second sleeve, I really did a good job of like having a stitch counter going or a row counter. Funny enough though, I still need to experiment with styling it. Well, not obviously, but I started making this a long time ago, and I just thought it would go with more things, but I actually am struggling so far when I try on things to like be like, wow, this really works. And it's possible that maybe I haven't had the right occasion to wear it for, and that's why it hasn't felt right. It's definitely possible. But yeah, I just need to experiment with it more. And something I want to do, completely separate from knitting, but something I want to do is there's an app called Index, and you can like take pictures of the stuff in your closet, and then you can like plan outfits. I kind of want to do that just so I can like, instead of actually trying things on, that hassle of trying things on, I can just like try mixing and matching it with different things visually on the app and see if I can find a potential option that would work. Anywho, my last finished object was a finished object. It might have been on my last episode that I did, or the episode before. It was a finished object back then, and I will link that video. But essentially, it kind of was just the way it all wrapped up was kind of a disaster. It ended up being, I think it was like really loose in the armholes, like kind of like this, but it's not like a typical bralette sort of top, in my opinion. And yeah, so the armholes were really loose. So I put in elastic, thinking, oh, great idea. I also went rogue and didn't follow the pattern and knit like I think I did like a 1x1 twisted rib, and then I knit like a purl row so that I could fold it over, and then I knit it. So I thought it was a better idea, but it wasn't. It just looked terrible. The purl ridge did not line up, like the way I seamed it just didn't line up. The elastic just made it look stupid. The neckline also wasn't quite right, so I put elastic there. And then the body, it was way too loose on me. Then I put elastic in the like base of it. Ugh, it just looks so bad. And I knew I put in so much effort into this top, I need to save it. But I didn't have energy right away. I just like had this moment where I'm like, I just want to finish everything that's eating away at the back of my head so I can start like fresh and just like keep going. And I decided I'm going to conquer it. So this is my Evelyne top, but fixed. So this is it hanging on a hanger. And I ended up frogging the hem here. The neckline I frogged, and the bottom I frogged. I took out all the elastic. The first thing I started with for fixing this was I decided if I did something like this for the bottom, it just wasn't going to have the look I wanted it to have. So I decided to keep it 2x2, and I did a 2x2 tubular bind off or Italian bind off. And I also, because it was loose and it was knit straight but there's no shaping, I attempted. It's not perfect, it's not flawless. Like if someone else had written it for me, it would have turned out a lot better, but it's okay, it's a learning experience. I did my own little shaping at the side, if you can see that detail, and I did it for both sides. And it just brings it in a lot nicer on my body now. It's just a lot closer to what I wanted the initial fit to be. And I didn't worry about any sort of band, and then I didn't have to worry about elastic or any just weird like bunching. I just didn't want the bunching. And then the armholes, if you can see, I did a 1x1 rib. Try a super duper stretchy bind off. I didn't like it. I frogged it. The bind off, just the bind off, not the whole thing. And then I did Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. That was what I landed on to get like this armhole size, the perfect size for me. And then for the neck hole, I did like an actual, I actually did a, I guess it's like a tubular bind off. I don't know why I can't remember these details. I don't know how anybody remembers these details sometimes. But I wanted it to be a lot cleaner. I wanted it to just like look more finished than these. Honestly, like these, I mean, they do the job, but it's not the prettiest finish, in my opinion, but I kind of like don't care at this point. I'm just happy it fits kind of nicely. So technically this is much closer to what the original pattern was supposed to look like, with the exception of this shaping here that just helped me out. Technically in the pattern, I think she asked for a twisted 1x1 rib for the edging here. I just didn't want that look. I don't know. I felt like it conflicted too much with the 2x2 rib, which is not twisted. So I don't know. Mentally, I just couldn't do it. The size I used to knit this is a 3mm needle. So that's definitely the smallest, one of the smallest needle sizes I've ever used on a project. I think I'd have to double check, but I think it was like a new personal record for me. And I used the Kollage Needles. Those square ones are supposed to be better for, like, I think arthritis and like if you have wrist problems and just like knitting with tiny needles. I did only buy a couple the first time I bought them because they actually recommended, they were like, try it out first, make sure it works for you, and then if you like it, you know, buy more. Was kind of like their advice to me when I was talking to them at a booth. So I did. I bought two. I think it works well. I think it's a lot better than the alternative, which I guess would be the round ones. So you'll see later, but I ended up investing a bit more in Kollage. And yeah, I'll get into that. Alright, let's talk about whips. So I know I mentioned when I was working on my Eun sweater that I just kind of hit that, I don't know, like that island feeling, knitting island feeling, where I wasn't feeling motivated to work on it, and it actually was like stopping me from knitting in general altogether, which was super out of character. Like usually I'm just knitting every second I can, and then I felt like I was like, I don't want to knit. And I think it was just like, in hindsight, I realized that I think the timing of all this was actually right after my wedding, and at the time I probably didn't know, but I had a little bit of post-wedding depression, and it's not because the wedding wasn't amazing. It was just, I was really sad that it was over, and it completely threw me for a loop, and I was very much not myself for a couple weeks. So that, I think, in hindsight, is the real reason why I also became completely uninterested in knitting, and I think it also just lingered for a little longer than I expected. I got tired of knitting on the same thing, and I realized maybe I'm in this rut because I just need to start a new project and just like feel excited about knitting again. And there's a yarn combo I've had, maybe I've mentioned it like not one podcast ago, maybe 2 podcasts ago or 3, somewhere around there. I've talked about yarn I got from Portugal. If you've watched my channel before, then I had this like kind of bubblegummy, but it's turning a bit more purple in the viewfinder. And then I have this darker pink. So my idea was to put them together and hold them together for something. I didn't know what, but ultimately the goal was to achieve around a DK gauge. And I am very happy to say that they work together. I wasn't sure. I was a little bit worried that it would like just not work, but I do like it. Kind of achieved exactly what I was looking for. And I cast on the balloon sweater by Petite Knit. I am knitting the size extra small, but with a slight modification. So I did a gauge swatch, and I know I mentioned this not long ago. I did a gauge swatch and I blocked it properly, and I realized this sweater, even if I knit this size extra small, is going to be too big. So I had to do some math. This is like the humble beginnings of a balloon cardigan. So you start with just knitting this, I think it's 1x1 rib. It's actually, I'm transitioning to summer knits, so it's been a second since I've used this, which is also why it's on these little cute little hands. But yeah, it's a 1x1 of some kind. Knit here, and you knit to a certain length, and then you put the stitches on hold, and you pick up and knit the other way. And then from there, you pick up along the edge of this ribbing, which is ultimately the button band, and you start knitting a raglan. So other than that, I mean, it's kind of like a traditional raglan. It's not like a fancy raglan or anything like that. So the raglan detail, if you can see, it's just like a simple one. It kind of just looks like a row of, like a vertical row of stockinette. Honestly, not too much to say other than like I'm adjusting my stitch count. It's all straightforward so far. It's just a raglan. I'm just kind of on raglan island, if anything, which is another reason why I'm like, I had to do something different again. Like I think that's why I bounced back to my Eun Sweater or my Giselle Blouse, one of the two. I was kind of I was doing all three at one point, so I just been bouncing around because I don't know. Doing the same thing over and over again, because sometimes it's exciting at first and then you just hit that point where you hit a wall and sometimes you just need something different. So I've been bouncing around. I haven't done this one in a bit, and I actually took the needles. My battery died. You know, I can show you. I mean, you've already seen the B-roll. My Eun Sweater on. I am wearing sweatpants now too. I have like just the biggest chill. Anyways, isn't it? Oh, it's so cute. And just that drape, like, I don't know. It's a nice sweater. I'm very happy with it, but ignore the truck. Whew. Anyways, I got a second to chill, I guess, and catch my breath while the battery was charging again. And it's definitely got a full charge this time. So I know I left off, I think, I was talking about my balloon cardigan by Petite Knit. Actually, for the ribbing, the button band with the ribbing, I used 3.75mm needles. The pattern does not say to do that. I just knit. I started knitting the button band at the beginning, and I was like, I know I'm not gonna like how this is looking. Like the gauge just felt too big. So I sized down just 0.25mm for that. And then the body is knit 4mm. So right now I'm knitting it entirely on 4mm needles. And I didn't realize until recently how, like I am kind of silly because I started off knitting the band here on 3.75mm needles, and then I switched to 4mm needles, and at the beginning of each row you knit the band because it's knit with it, which is great, which is a great feature. So technically I am knitting on the button band with 4mm needles. So I don't know, a slight flaw in my logic there, but maybe it's all in all nice that I started it off with a tighter gauge. Maybe that sets the pace for how it lays out. I don't know. I believe that was everything for my balloon cardigan. So then kind of recently I got inspired. I've been dying to make a purse, and I got inspired. I can't remember how it resurfaced into my mind, but I loved the Boulevard bag that Lily Kate makes, right? Lily Kate France. Lily Kate Makes, I think, is actually a YouTuber. But anyways, Lily Kate France, she does have a podcast, and she talked about this bag probably a while ago now, like less than a year ago, but it was definitely colder outside, I think, when I watched it, and I loved it. And I think she was talking about her design process, and I kind of knew I wanted to make it. Plus the crossbody bag look, I just love it. I wish I could have a million, so I feel like knitting it is the perfect solution. So it's this super cute moon-shaped sort of crossbody bag. Of course, you could make it longer, so if you wanted it to be more like a purse. And there are 2 different variations in the pattern. I couldn't tell you verbally what the differences are, but there is a difference in the instructions. It breaks out. There's just 2, instead of 2 sizes, there's just 2 different bags that you can make. And I think that's the shaping of the short rows or something like that is a little different. So yeah, my next whip is, I'll show you the first complete panel, the Boulevard bag by Lily Kate France. And this one, I'm just so excited about. I think I'm going to make a million actually, because I knit this panel, which is one side panel, and then this is, there she calls this the gusset, which is like part of the underneath of the bag. I knit this panel in a day. I completed it, which was very satisfying, and it's obviously on like a super big gauge. So I'm using leftover yarn that I have, and I'm really excited. I just feel so good about even using leftovers to begin with. I'm using the Woollen Al Pacino Merino, and that's for the main body. And I used that initially to make a sweater, and I still have a sweater, but I had some leftovers, so I'm using that for the body of the bag. And then these things, which she was calling, Channels. Yes, I had to look at that note. She calls these things here channels. So then what is so cool about these channels is that you actually insert zip ties. So when you're putting the bag together at the end, you can use zip ties, sorry, or boning, like sewing boning, and it'll give the bag a lot of structure. So it's pretty cool. It's essentially a tunnel that I'm going to feed it through at the end. Now, I will say the first channel I knit in the very beginning, I accidentally, don't ask me how, but I got confused by the instructions, and the first one is on the inside. The thing is, I didn't realize I did it wrong until I hit this one here, and I realized, oh, that's what I was supposed to do. And I was not about to frog it. I don't care that it only took me a day. I was like, you know what? This will just be, like, regardless, one side of the bag is going to be against me, and the other side is going to be outwards. So I'm thinking this will just be what I use for the inside, and I can still put the zip ties in this. It'll just be on the inside. So instead of being on the outside, it kind of like, I don't know if you can see, it's not, because it's backwards, it doesn't actually like hold its shape very well. But yeah, it'll be on the inside. It's not a big deal. I'll hide it. I'll have my second panel, which is gonna be flawless, on the outside, and I'm super excited. So I knit that panel in a day, and then to be honest though, my hands were hurting because it is on a tighter gauge. So you're using a thicker yarn on a tighter gauge so that you can get that structure. This colorway here is the Sahara Dust, and it's a bulky weight yarn. And the pattern is entirely knit on 4mm needles. So that's where I had some wrist pain, which I think is expected. So my channels, once again, sorry, I'm like throwing this thing all over. And my strap, which I finished, the Woollen the Gang, the one Merino, in the colorway Heritage Green. This is also, it's just like I had 2 balls of this yarn and I didn't know what to use it for, and it's super stretchy. And if you look, so the strap is all double knitting. It's a double knitting tube. I've knit mine to her recommendation, so it's going to be like a high up crossbody look. So yeah, you kind of, I don't want to give away the pattern, but you start with knitting your gusset. You do your first channel, which is the one I messed up on my first panel. Then you use a series of rows and short rows to get this beautiful like moon shape. And then you end up at the bottom and you put it on hold. In my case, I did the strap, so just a double knitting tube. My second panel, which I'm almost done actually, like so close. I am just starting the channels now. You can see I did this channel correct on this one. And I'm just starting that crescent channel now. And after that, I'll do a little bit that little piece on the bottom. And then I can start putting it together. So 100% next episode, this is going to be done. I'm so excited about this one. I think it's going to be so cute to wear in all seasons. It's just so easy, and I think I'm actually, after this, going to be so addicted to making purses because it just feels like so refreshing to finish things quickly. And I love making sweaters, but you only need so many sweaters, so it's good. I think it's nice to kind of change it up a bit. I just think the design of this bag, the construction, and everything is just genius. Like, and I know I don't like praise every pattern like this, but I swear to you, I have not actual diagnosed short-term memory loss, but I think I live kind of in the moment, and because of that, I'm so bad at, like, the minute, you know, like when I'm knitting this sweater, I know all the things I like about it, maybe I know the things I don't like about it, yada, 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 and it's in my head, but the minute I start a new pattern, I feel like I just literally, like, I blank everything out and I start fresh. So that's why my passion is really in my Boulevard bag, because that's so fresh in my mind right now, and that's what I've been looking at, and yeah, I wish I could do this for every pattern, and I don't know how some people do it, but, you know, everybody's different, so. Maybe as I do more videos, I'll actually get used to, like, remembering details, but it is one of those things where I just feel like, almost like out of sight, out of mind, in a sense. Anywho, that was quite a tangent, but I can't think of anything else to say for the Boulevard bag, but definitely gonna be done that soon. That's it for my whips right now. I do have one fingering away sweater that I was knitting, and I still am knitting, but it's 100% hibernating for now, so I'll get back to it when it gets cold again. Let's talk about acquisitions. I a lot's happened. I actually wanted to film this video like a month ago maybe, and I had less acquisitions at that point. Essentially, I was working on the new website for the company I work for, and it was a very long project because we changed the plan like 3 different times. So it took like 2.5 years to finally get it live. And even so, we're still going to be enhancing it. I digress. They gave me a bonus for, I guess, all my work on the website, which is also super duper nice. And I treated myself. So my justification for these acquisitions is a little bit like I got the bonus and it partially went, I got a root canal, so it partially went to that. But it also went to buying myself some yarn and trying not to feel guilty. I still feel guilty just because I'm trying to go through my stash, so acquiring more yarn was not my plan. But, I mean, might as well spend the bonus while it's fresh in my wallet. So here we go. I'm not going to go into what I thought about making with all of these, but I kind of made sure I had loose plans in mind before I bought the yarn. And I think some of it too is just really safe purchases, like safe in the sense that I will use it. It might not be this year, but I will use it. They're not like necessarily colors I'm going to get tired of or yarn weights I'm going to hate later. Anyway, I have spoken about Bendigo Woollen Mills before on another YouTube video, probably a while back. It's a yarn manufacturer in Australia. Bendigo Woollen Mills. I'll start with the cotton yarn. So I got a couple balls of their cotton 4-ply because I do want to do a lot of summer knitting, and the minute I'm done my Boulevard bag, I'm going to transition into actually just knitting summer garments, and maybe I'll work on my balloon cardigan and maybe I won't because I am feeling inspired to make summer knits. So this one is colorway 814 in French. The colorway is French navy, so it's a deep navy blue. I paid Australian $14.55 for it. I'll put the conversion on screen. That's for one ball. And the catch is you get, so this is a 200-gram ball. So you get 670 meters or 200 grams. It's a fingering weight if that's not already intuitive. And it's 100% cotton if that was not already intuitive. I just think that is the best deal in the world, which is why I am a returning buyer, because I just feel like it's nice. I've knit with this cotton before, so I knit my Soho top by 𝓭𝓪𝓽𝓮𝓻𝓷𝓼. It was like I think the colorway was called Sand Castle. It honestly, in hindsight, is a little bit too close to my skin tone, but I still wear it. I just usually wear something dark, like a dark cardigan or a dark blazer, just to like break it up a bit visually, so I don't look like I'm naked. But yeah, so I wanted to get some more colors in this. I have knit with this. The drape is beautiful. Working with it, I think, was pleasant. I don't remember like having any extreme discomfort. And yeah, I mean, if you could feel it right now, which you can't through the screen, but it is very soft. But it's a cotton, and I like that. I got 2 of these. So the other colorway I got was this one. It's a green color, and the color is 879 Canopy. Same specs. I recently bought a dress for a wedding in this color, and I had tried it on just randomly. It kind of spoke to me on the rack, and I tried it on. It was this emerald green color, and actually it just looked, I don't know how it looks on camera right now, but it looked so sharp against like my fair skin, and I loved it. I really loved it. So I got like immediately after trying on that color and being like, whoa, like I never thought this color would ever suit me. It just did not occur to me at all. And I realized, I guess it's because like probably jewel tones works well with fair skin, and it's probably not a coincidence at all. But I got really inspired about this color, and I do want to own stuff in it. And I thought it was a really nice color that I've literally never worn before in my life. I haven't actually knit with their wool yet, but this is their mosaic. It's an 8-ply. It's colorway 2412 pecan, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's 100% wool, so it's a 22 stitch gauge, which I guess works out to be a DK weight. And this one also is in 200 grams. That's part of the deal with Bendigo Woollen Mills. 200 grams, it was 𝓂𝓪𝓽𝓮𝓻𝓷𝓼 Australian, and I got 4 of these with intentions of making probably a sweater or a cardigan. I can't remember what my initial thoughts were. I know I placed this order a while ago now, but I had a plan. Last but not least, from Bendigo Woollen Mills, I thought this was really cool. It was like a limited time yarn, but I recently realized I have a cardigan that was store-bought from American Eagle, and it was made with a blend of wool and cotton, a cotton wool blend, and I swear to you that cardigan looks just as new as the day I bought it, and I've had it for like, I don't even know, 6 years? Okay, maybe not. Maybe, yeah, 4, 5. Let's go with 5 years. Let's say 5 years. I wear it all the time. I love it, and I realized that I think it's just like the combination of the cotton and the wool for one. Maybe it makes it a little less scratchy, a little bit more breathable, and then I think it just, that cotton reduces the pilling, but I'm not a scientist. I'm not a yarn scientist, but they had this. It's not cotton. I know I'm talking about cotton, but I kind of just wanted to experiment with this. I bought 1 ball, experiment with this and see how it fares in terms of durability. So this one is called, it's an 8-ply bamboo twist. So that works out to be a DK weight. So they recommend 4mm needles. It's 96% wool and 4% bamboo. So it is only a tiny amount of bamboo, but there's essentially like a white, it's like, it's almost like a little bit heathered with like a white thin strand, and I believe that's the bamboo. Oh, all in all, I'm excited to see how this works out, and obviously I picked that jewel tone green again. And then this one is honestly the same specs as the last one, but it's for a 200-gram ball, it's 400 meters. Oh, and the price is actually cheaper, so it's Australian $14.09. I bought 3 of these, and the colorway is 2558 conifer. It is limited time, so if this is something that interests you, I don't know how long it's in stock for. I took myself to the local yarn shop in Hamilton, Ontario, called Hand Knit's Yarn Studio. Sorry, I had to double check that. And I got some yarn. The light is reflecting off this yarn a lot, so it looks extra vibrant, but at the same time it is kind of like this vibrant compared to my skin tone. So this is a Julie Asselin product again, but I will say I loved knitting my Giselle Blouse. Like, I guess I never spoke about the yarn itself, like the composition, but it's 90% superwash merino with 10% silk. And it was just so nice to work with. It feels so nice on your skin, like it doesn't feel negative in any way. I loved like how the finished product came out. So I bought more of it essentially, but this time in a DK weight in this bright orange. And I'm very excited to knit with this. This colorway is Clementine, just in case you're curious. I'm pretty sure I got 2 of these. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. Maybe 3. And then the next thing I got, also Julie Asselin, and I swear to you, it was not planned, or I don't know, it just kind of worked out that way that they're all from the same person. But this was really cool, and I actually remembered seeing them announce this in an Instagram post, and I remember being so drawn to it because I've seen people knit. Hopefully you can see. I don't know if it's showing up properly on camera, but it's essentially like an off-white tone with a bunch of really muted colors in it. There's like yellow, blue, pink, orange. It's kind of one of those yarns. And I whenever I see anybody knit with something like this, I'm like, ooh, I kind of love that. And I love that it's subtly like rainbowy, but it's muted. And I don't know, it's almost like a neutral, but it's not. So I got this. So this is actually, so it's 100% fine wool. And this is essentially, I mean, I would call this a lace weight, like kind of like a mohair equivalent, but without the mohairs. And this is 112 grams or 708 meters or 780 yards. This color is, let me see if it is, Fusion 21. So I got 2 of these cones just because I wanted to, I'm pretty sure I'll make a winter garment with this, and I want to hold it with something else. Likely maybe a cream or an off-white. I have a few options in my yarn cabinet. So I already knew I had something to hold it with. I just wanted to get, I don't know, it spoke to me. It spoke to me on Instagram and it spoke to me in real life. And I'm really excited about this one. Now that I'm getting into summer knitting, the first thing I knew I wanted to make was 𝓭𝓪𝓽𝓮𝓻𝓷𝓼 top. I have yarn in stash that I wanted to use that I got secondhand. It's a cotton. I can't think of the name right now. But either way, I was all excited to like knit the 𝓭𝓪𝓽𝓮𝓻𝓷𝓼 top, and I went to look at the pattern so I could do a gauge swatch to see if it would work with the yarn I wanted to use. And then I didn't have the right needle size because the smallest needle I have is 3 millimeters, and I haven't bought anything smaller than that. I did do a gauge swatch with 3 millimeters and it was too loose. It just wasn't going to work. And the pattern does ask for 2.75 millimeter needles, so I knew the time had come. I had tested the Kollage Needles, which I mentioned earlier, and I would rather just spend the money on the Kollage Needles than buy individual, because they don't even come in interchangeables, so then buy individual needles from whatever, Knit Picks or any of the other places, and realize, ooh, my wrists are hurting. I just didn't want to have that happen. So I was like, you know what, I'll just get the Kollage. I did look at a bunch of options on their site, and then I pretty much quickly realized that these needles are so small that you can't really do interchangeables with them because they would just break, probably. So, so I got quite a haul, and I have a screenshot of my cart here just so that I could easily relay information. But ultimately, so which one are these? I'm not going to show you. I have B-roll of me opening the Happy Mail. So I'm going to put that on screen and I kind of show in better lighting the needles. But this is a firm one, so you can see the way the cord moves. It kind of holds its shape. And I don't know which one this is. It's, oh, this is like 2.75 millimeter. And that would mean it's a 16-inch circumference. So I got that, and then I also knew I needed longer options because I do love the look, the finished look of knitting with fine yarn and fine needles. So I knew I was going to need some longer ones, and I got a little bit of an assortment. But I have B-roll for this reason, so I'll just kind of read off what I got, but it'll be on screen. I ended up also getting 2.75 millimeters again, but I got the soft cord, 32-inch, and I don't know if these are actually them, but this is an example, just so in case you're curious for yourself. This is what the soft cord acts like versus the firm. I tried to find a video of somebody doing this, and I could not find a video. Maybe it's like hidden in a video somewhere, but just so you know the difference. I did read on like a Reddit that the soft is very soft, but I sometimes get so frustrated with the firm cords. So I thought when I'm knitting something long, I hope and think I'll like the flexibility of this. I really hope so. So that was it for the 2.75 millimeter needles. So I wanted to have a long option and a short option. And then I also got the 2.5 millimeter needles in soft. And that was also a 32-inch circumference. And then I went down again, 0.25. I got 2.25 millimeters, also in soft, with 32-inch. And just, sorry, I guess I should have said this earlier, but part of the reason too I went with a 32-inch versus like a 24-inch was because I knew I could just do magic loop. And I don't mind doing magic loop. And then another reason why the soft is good is it just makes magic loop, I think, nicer, more fun to do. And then the last thing I got was a 2 millimeter, also soft, and 32-inch. So I sized pretty much bought from 2.75 to 2 millimeter needles, and I should be good to go, I hope, for the rest of my life in terms of needles. I have so many options now. Last but not least, I was recently at a, I'm going to call it a market, but it's called Gathering on the Green, and it happens in London, Ontario. And it's the first Saturday of every year in June. And I always do a booth with my mom. She does mosaics and tile tables. And I'm still trying to sell some of my knit stuff that I made a while back. There is a booth, it's a charity actually, that opens up. They have a lot of hand knit items, and they also sell yarn secondhand. I always make sure I go and see them when I'm in town, and last time I got like lots of really nice, like a wide assortment of mohair from them, and in several colors, and I'm still going through it, but it was like ridiculously cheap. So I got, it said 100% cotton. That being said, I've been trying to find out what this yarn is. I'll show you. So I got ultimately 3 colors. I have 2 of the pink. I love pink. And I love orange. I got 2 of the pink, 1 of the orange, and the white. And there are these massive cakes. Oops. Ooh, I just typed on my computer. There are these massive cakes, and I weighed these. This is a 247 gram. They're all 247 gram cakes. And if my math is all correct, then, like, in my opinion, let me know if you think differently, but let me see if I can show this. Does it show? I don't know. In my opinion, this is a fingering weight, almost a light fingering, if anything. And it said 100% cotton on the bag. That being said, it is so smooth to the touch, and it's very like tightly spun and lots of fine fibers, if that makes sense. I tried to find this yarn on the internet. I don't know who it's by. I found the odd time I would find something that I was like, this is close, but it's not sold in 250 or so gram balls. So it's kind of a complete mystery. At one point I even thought, there was at Michael's, a yarn that popped up, I forget the exact name, but it's like a cotton, essentially like a fingering sort of cotton. It's in cakes like this, but it doesn't come in this like size. And the way that this is spun, I don't know, it's spun, but you know what I mean. The way it's wound, it's so neat. So either they have a really good yarn swift, because mine never looked like this. So maybe they have a really good yarn swift, or this is like some, like, I don't know, maybe they got it from an outlet store, like it was never actually fully manufactured. But yeah, if my math's correctly, and this is like a fine, like a sort of like a fine fingering weight, then each ball should be close to 900 yards, which is kind of insane. And I got, so once again, I essentially got 4 of these, but different colors, for $10. So obviously I can't say no to that. And I mean, it feels so like silky. So it said cotton, but part of me wonders if it's like a cotton acrylic or a combination of fibers. And please tell me in the comments, like, if you have any theories as to what this is, where they got it from. I am in Canada. Doesn't mean they didn't go to the States to get it. Who knows? But if you have any theories, and it's so drapey, like, there's just something about this. I don't know. I'll find out when I'm knitting with it too. Maybe I'll get like a feeling on my hands, but kind of just a big mystery, but super excited about this. And once again, like with the green, the blue, the orange, the pink, I'm really excited to make some summer knits with all of these. And I definitely don't have to worry about running out of yarn. So yeah, that is everything for today's video. Thanks so much for watching and sticking around if you're still here, and I will see you next time.